Hello and welcome to the channel. Commonly, when thinking about the German uniform present during World War II, we instantly think about the sharply designed Wehrmacht and Luftwaffe tunics or the iconic SS-specific smocks as staples of the uniform evident by German soldiers during the period. I wanted to take a brief detour from these common subversions to look at the uniform exhibited by soldiers fighting in different climates where the weather was equally as dangerous as the enemy, and I wanted to start by looking at protection from the snow and extreme cold in places such as Norway, Russia, and the winter of 1944 on the Western Front. Before the war, as of 1934, the standard enlisted man's headdress was nearly akin to that worn by the US and the British RAF. The folding garrison or envelope cap was popular, convenient, and worn throughout the war. However, later developments saw designs modified and adapted, and a variant appeared in 1942 with a two-part fold intended to serve as ear flaps in the cold weather, secured by two front buttons, was introduced. Derived from a uniform piece iconic to mountain troops at the time, they were issued with a visor or ski cap with turn-down ear flaps secured in the front by two buttons. A version of this cap with a longer visor, false turn-down, and slightly lower crown in the relevant colour schemes was issued as part of the tropical uniform. From 1943 onwards, a similar cap, intermediate in length between the mountain and the tropical version, was issued to all troops as standard dress, replacing the early style side cap. Intended for field wear only and commonly seen in photos, it was quite possibly the most common and popular headwear issued to soldiers during the period. Alluded to above, the field cap mostly comprised of coarse wool fibres with a thin interior liner, usually either cotton twill or rayon. This went some way to providing thermal protection, in addition to the turn-down flaps that were designed to protect the ears in the cold weather. Revisions of this cap went further, seen in the winter of 1944 onwards, with a single button instead of two. This was likely due to rationing of materials to stretch production batches to make more during the scarcity of the late war material shortages. During the first winter on the Eastern Front between 1941 to 1942, there was a large push in German industry to design and field cold weather gear. By the close of 1942, a variety of fur-lined caps had been introduced. Comprised of a field grey wool body, which was lined with either cotton twill or rayon, a visor and a fold-down ear flaps backed by rabbit fur, the flaps were held upwards in position by a single button, and the flaps could be tied down under the wearer's chin via a cloth tie. Many soldiers pinned or sewed insignia to the visor of the hat. Most examples were fitted with metal visor cap badges, and commonly seen is either the hare eagle or, to a lesser extent, the Waffen-SS skull, the Totenkopf. In some unique cases in Russia where these hats were not issued or were not issued in sufficient numbers, rare surviving examples of captured Russian Ushankas have been denoted, modified with German insignia in an attempt to emulate the German fur hat. German leadership anticipated a quick victory against the Soviet Union when they invaded in June of 1941. However, despite early victories, the offensive ground to a halt as the winter weather became an important factor. Famously, the Germans were ill-equipped to deal with the sub-zero temperatures, and the shortage of good, warm clothing meant that wherever possible, German soldiers used captured Russian clothing or footwear. An example of this was simply stuffing their boots with clothing, newspaper, straw, rags, and other examples to act as agents of warmth and insulation. The state, in response to this, quickly drove public collection for fur and for warm clothing on the German home front by the Winter Relief Organisation, and determined efforts were put into place as a stopgap to ease the solution, and a series of kit was issued, as well as non-standardised items which were produced for the troops serving in the East. The standard metal sole leather marching boots worn by most troops were useless in the Russian winter, as they conducted the cold directly to the man's feet with awful consequences. Frostbite and hypothermia were rampant. To counter this, a variety of special footwear was produced in quantities. The first pattern winter boot enclosed the man's ordinary footwear and was intended to be worn by troops involved in static duties such as sentries. The boots were typically calf length, made from felt and leather with a wooden sole. The boot itself was made of leather, and it was front opening with a leather stormfly and secured by two horizontal straps with a metal claw buckle. Those boots issued to Heer units were made in black leather, while those issued to the Luftwaffe were made of brown leather. The later leather and felt boots, introduced in 1942, could be worn directly instead of a separate overshoe or boot concept. Eerily, in some cases, German troops took drastic action to obtain winter uniform and gear from dead Russian soldiers, which in extreme cases even included cutting off the legs of corpses to get off their thick boots. For German mountaineering troops and those in advanced snowy climates, extreme glare and harsh winds could cause snow blindness. Drawing on practices by Inuit native peoples, the Germans designed snow goggles that were made from aluminium with small metal slits to reduce light intake. These were carefully balanced to perfectly situate between eye protection and visibility. Other non-stamped metal versions were produced with cloth frames with similar slit openings. Both styles were functionally effective, utilising the slit design. However, another subdivision of this equipment piece were made using polarised lenses, usually from green tinted glass, and they were more common to see in sparse period photos. They were standard issue for mountain troops and were issued to those who fought in the Alps, the Eastern Front, the Balkans, and the Arctic and high altitude climates. The origins of this specialist piece of equipment are unknown, as most lack manufacturing marks and makers' stamps. Though these items were made in their thousands, going by exact number of mountain troops, it is believed they originated somewhere inside the Wehrmacht or SS equipment design branches. A rather odd example to add to this was the issue of earmuffs, manufactured in a number of colours of wool pads. They were either available in grey, brown, field blue and even red, connected by a headband that was adjustable to different head sizes, much like conventional earphones do, and when not in use they would completely fold down to be almost flat for ease of storage in a soldier's pocket. These were issued to all branches of the German armed forces in World War II, however this small unique piece of kit is rarely talked about. Parkas and padded over-trousers were another item that was issued to German troops in Norway and the Eastern Front. These items were typically stuffed with recycled wool to afford greater thermal protection. The first model that spearheaded this were grey parkas that were first introduced in the winter of 1943 to 1944 and were worn by both Wehrmacht and SS units. Later on, the army would introduce camouflage versions. Several models existed, some single-sided only, but most were reversible with a white interior for winter use, and later camouflage models existed in both Wehrmacht splinter pattern and SS camouflage schemes. Constructed from an insulated wool blanket sewn between camouflage and white cotton cloth layers, it also features a reversible waist belt, two lower pockets which were closed by flaps, and a button on each of the wrists so that the cuffs could be adjusted, and the front is closed with a standard German style of metal pebbled finish buttons. The only detraction from this was the oversized hood. The Germans purposely left the hood without any insulation so that it could be worn over helmets and other headwear. The same rhetoric was used when the Germans incepted the creation of padded gloves in 1942 and 1943. The German forces also extended their use of wool a further step when they introduced the greatcoat. The German greatcoat was a long, double-breasted overcoat, primarily made from coarse durable wool. They were designed to provide warmth and protection in various weather conditions. It was typical to see these in field grey colour, which was standard for the German military during the time, and had a large, oversized turn-down collar that could be used to protect the neck and the base of the head from wind and rain. Speaking personally, due to having previously owned many of these, when stacked up with other layers they afford great thermal retention, as it was designed to be worn over the standard uniform, providing additional warmth and protection during combat and in harsh weather conditions. There were several models of the greatcoat introduced, the M36, the M40 and the M42, each with slight design changes and revisions that reflected the evolution of cold weather clothing throughout the war. Germany's reliance on wool was further utilised with various official and non-official wool items of clothing that can be seen in example media from the period. Though the Germans officially issued the M36 wool jumper that was used by the German armed forces at both the outbreak of World War II and up until 1945, it is not a far speculation to believe that though not seen in examples, unofficial wool kit could be individually purchased by a soldier in any given region or sent from family back home. Another further example that were both officially issued and unofficially procured are socks. As the old adage goes, an army marches on its stomach, and most definitely its feet. And if you're a reenactor, you'll know how many times you need to constantly buy new socks. A personal adage, I usually wear 2 pairs to an event to both secure the leg of my trousers and to also slow the degradation of these items. However, due to the fact that they're made from knitted wool, a pair will only last one event or a weekend. So if you're walking or running around in correct period boots, they seem to have a habit of wearing very fast. As a reenactor, you can never have enough pairs of socks, and mixed in with other personal kit and other wool substitutes such as gloves, they are other practical examples that reenactors can purchase and own that were widely used during the period as well, and greatly fill out your reenactment impression. Thank you for watching this rather obscure tangent on the World War II uniform and personal kit that was issued to soldiers. I hope you found this video both helpful and informative as always, and if this is your first time on the channel, why not consider subscribing? These videos take a while to research, vet, edit and put together, and as such I post a new video every month. If there is any content that you would like to see, please drop me a message in either the comment section below or the pinned post on the community section of my channel, and I promise that rather later than never, I will get around to making it at some point. I am thankful to everyone who takes time to watch, like and comment on my videos, and I hope you continue to enjoy the content that I produce on this channel. Thank you.